Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 222. Today we are talking all about helping others and what encouraging our kids to spread kindness and random acts or otherwise, and get involved in acts of service and helping others does for them socially and emotionally, and why we should try to incorporate it into our homeschools and our everyday. Helping others is the theme coming up in next month's Learners Lab in all of our parent masterclasses and kids challenges and kids classes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it today so that you could get a taste of that in case you wanted to join the Learners Lab the next time we open it up. You can find information about that over on the show notes page for this episode. But before you even go there, you need to listen to this episode. And before we begin, I want to take a quick moment to shout out CTC Math, our season sponsor. Again, I so appreciate them and their support of all that we do here at Raising Lifelong Learners. If you're looking for a math program, check them out at ctcmath.com. I'll tell you a little bit more about them during this episode. So, are you ready? Okay, pop your earbuds in, go for a walk, take a break, sit down, hide in the closet and eat chocolate while you listen to this podcast. But let's get on with today's episode. Hey, welcome back. Okay, today we're talking about helping others. So there's a couple of reasons that we're talking about this. Number one, helping others and teaching our kids to be aware of what others need, what others do, really helps them in so many different ways. The most obvious is that it helps our kids to be more empathetic, right? And having empathy can lead to so many great things for our kids. It can lead to resiliency and confidence, stronger relationships with others. But this is the perfect time to talk about it because we are entering the holiday season. Last week was Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're listening to this right after it airs. And then coming up, right, are Christmas and New Year's and all of the other holidays that you may experience during November, December, and January. It's a hotbed of time for spending with others. In fact, for us, it is this crazy marathon of multiple birthdays, multiple holidays, and multiple times gathering with friends and family. And it's a time I really like to spend with my kids, nurturing that love of others, that empathetic nature, and the understanding that the world is a better place when we can all figure out ways to help each other out. The other reason I want to talk about this is because this coming month in the Learners Lab, we are spending it deep diving into all of the benefits of helping others. We're going to be talking in the Parent Masterclass about the things that the characteristics and traits that helping others brings out in our kids and why empathy is such an important part of growing up and growing good, resilient, strong kids. We're going to talk in the kids challenges and creative thinking classes, ways that we can reach out into the community and our family and help each other out. And we'll be tackling different classes and challenges and activities and ideas for doing this in practice in our lives so that we can hope to build up the habit of being empathetic and helping others. Here's the thing. We homeschool our kids, and most of us listening or participating in this podcast in this community are homeschooling one or more neurodivergent kiddos. And those kids tend to think outside the box, right? They tend to be creative. They can also be very introspective and can withdraw into themselves. They can have anxiety when it comes to being in groups or in the greater community, and learning how to see what others need and instilling kind of a sense of service in our kids can help them overcome their own difficulties because they see that others are going through challenges as well. And it develops a strong empathetic nature, especially in our neurodivergent kids. I remember a time, I wrote about this in the book Raising Resilient Sons, and was just talking about it recently with Ginny Urich on her podcast, 1000 Hours Outside. And it was a time when I was working actively to try to encourage my kids to be more empathetic. And we had a family challenge of spreading kindness, random acts of kindness during the Advent season. And I'll link in the show notes for this episode some of the posts that I wrote about it way back when we were actively doing this. In fact, it's one of those things that I kind of want to bring back this year, but we tried. At the time, I had 3 children. Trevor was my oldest, and then I had Molly, and Logan was a baby. And we would go out during the holiday season and carry with us. So first of all, we try to do these big random acts of kindness where we'd, tape dollar bills in the dollar section of Target to little, dollar toys for kids, or go to the dollar store and do the same. Or we'd treat a kid or a family to ice cream at Chick-fil-A when we went for lunch, or things like this. Or we'd help out a neighbor by raking their leaves without them knowing, or when they weren't home. So they came home from work to neatly piled leaves at the side, on the tree lawn for the city to pick up. And we also kept in the car these little tags that said, "You are loved in this season and always," and just said like the Kessler kids, and a bunch of tape and notes, like notepads and candy canes. And if we didn't have like a random act of kindness planned for that day, like, leaving dollars or whatever, or buying somebody's treat, we would bring a candy cane in with one of these notes taped to it when we went to run errands or to a store. And the challenge I would give to the kids is to find somebody that they think needs a smile today. And my girls, well, Logan was, I think she was like 1 or 2, and I would just give her a candy cane to hand to somebody. I'd say, "Oh, give this to a baby." And she'd find somebody, and she'd point and we'd give her the candy cane. And she loved that because everybody would like coo all over her as she sat in the stroller or the shopping cart. Molly loved it. Molly was 4, 5, 6 years old and loved running up to people and giving them candy canes and a smile, and, get a pinch on the cheek or a pat on the head. Trevor was a little bit reticent with it. He was nervous about reaching out to people or kind of calling attention to himself in that way. And there's this one time that I've written about and I've talked about before, where we were in Walmart and the checkout lady was very gruff. A very large woman who was gruff, having a rough day, it looked like, and just seemed very downcast. And when, I smiled and said hello and, started putting my stuff on the conveyor as she's ringing it up, and she's like kind of grunting half words at us as she's obviously trying to just get through her day. And I remember Trevor kind of like watching her with these like owlishly wide eyes and just observing how down she seemed and gruff she seemed. And he was clutching his candy cane. He had not given it to anybody. And I didn't think he would, because he didn't always give his out when we did. And so we get through and she's, kind of like barking her orders to give, how much the order cost. And I'm giving her a credit card and she's telling me to swipe, or giving her my credit card and telling her to swipe. And she's just, again, kind of like gruff and barking at us, right? And so I package everything up, trying to get my kids out of there because we were all tired. We need to get home with our groceries. And we start walking away, and all of a sudden Trevor stops and he says, "Hang on a second." And he turned around and he ran back to this woman. And he just handed her the candy cane and like turned around and fast walked away. Didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge it, just said, "Here," and thrust it at her and started walking. And so we walk out of the store because Trevor's obviously uncomfortable and he wants to get out of there. And we hear, "Wait, little boy." And he stopped and he turned around and I turned too. And this woman, who moments before had been very gruff and very surly, had her face had split into this like grin, weathered grin, the gruff older woman who had felt very difficult and had seen a lot. She was older and had a deep creased face, and those creases just split in this wide grin. And she came towards him and she looked at me and she smiled and she enveloped him in this this hug and just pressed him to her. And she said, "Merry Christmas," and then patted him on the head. And she turned around, holding her candy cane, and went back to her checkout line. And she smiled and said hello to the next person in line and started ringing up this next person's order. And I could just see her whole body language had just shifted. And Trevor almost skipped out of the store. We didn't talk much about it, and he didn't want to when I brought it up, but I knew that that had made as much of an impression on him as it had on me, because his whole demeanor had changed, and we had witnessed this woman's demeanor change, all from a candy cane. But it wasn't really, right? It wasn't a candy cane. It was just being seen, heard, and acknowledged, or seen and acknowledged in that moment. And oftentimes we forget that everybody around us is going through stuff too. And when we can help our kids notice that and do something about it, or even just smile, we can help them far into their future. It doesn't take a lot to do something for others. And it doesn't seem like giving them a candy cane is actually very helpful, but it is, because sometimes the act of spreading kindness or helping one another isn't about the thing that you do or the thing that you say. It's just about helping people know that they're not alone. When we think about spreading kindness and helping others, it's important to realize that the act of doing that has psychological and emotional benefits for our kids. It builds empathy, it builds compassion, it builds a sense of responsibility and community, and helps us all see how interconnected we really are, encourages and enhances social skills. Even just giving a candy cane and meeting somebody's eye can lead to more emotional intelligence later and down the road. It builds the skills that we want our kids to have as they grow into adults. For our neurodivergent kids, it helps them find a sense of purpose. It helps them see where they fit into the greater community when oftentimes they feel out of place. It gives them an opportunity for developing other skills and showing them how they can impact others in positive ways, when sometimes the ways that they impact others seems not so positive, right? We've all had those kids who seem out of place in a co-op or in a group of other kids and don't seem to fit in, but doing something for someone else helps them see that they have a place. We had a neighbor at our old house who was older and lived alone with her dog. And my kids would go over often just to say hi and to chat with her, because they knew that it helped Miss Cheryl feel like she had people around. She didn't have a large extended family that came over. And so she kind of adopted my children. And so they knew that when they went and knocked on Miss Cheryl's door and then went in the backyard with her and her dog to play fetch and to chat, that they were helping her feel connected to family as well. It also builds self-esteem and confidence in our kids, because they feel like they're contributing, which improves their own self-esteem and their own sense of self. A simple thing like giving the Walmart clerk a candy cane during a busy and overwhelming holiday season can help our kids see that little things make a difference. When Molly and I were really spending a lot of time outside the home with her theater, there was a time probably like throughout the middle of her freshman year to last year, the end of her sophomore year, and even here into the beginning of her junior year, we were going from show to show to show to show. Lots of training outside with her acting coach and her voice coach and her dance coach, lots of rehearsal time. And there were many days that we'd have to grab something quick to eat, or we'd have like a weird amount of time to kill in between like classes and rehearsals or voice coaching and performance. So it was like too long to really, it was too long a time to just eat, or go through drive through quickly and go right onto rehearsal and eat in the car. But it was too short to go home, do something at home, and then go back out. So we'd go to a restaurant where we could sit down, get a meal, and then maybe do a little bit of schoolwork, or I could do a little bit of my own work. And when we could, we would try to notice a server or somebody who seemed like they needed kind of a little pick-me-up. And when we could, we would overtip. That was a game that we played, the overtipping game. We couldn't do it all the time because, funds are limited. But when a server or somebody in the restaurant would kind of like resonate. I remember this one time we were in a little Greek restaurant, and the server was a musical theater student at a local college. And Molly and he connected and chatted about different shows he'd been in and different shows she's been in and the shows that she wants to do someday and what his future goals are. And he was just really nice, spent a lot of time with this little girl, chatting her up about her love and sharing this connection. And she said, Mom, could we overtip? And so we did. We tipped him actually more than the cost of the bill. So we doubled what we spent. And the goal when we did that was to not get credit for it. We didn't want to be seen and caught and thanked for it. So we finished our meal and we got ourselves all set, and we waited till he was like in the back, and we left the tip in the little binder thing. And we walked fast and we went out, and we got to a place outside where we could watch, but we couldn't be seen. And it was so wonderful just watching him pick up the tip and kind of do a double take and look at it and look around to see if he could catch us, knowing that we didn't do that for thanks. We did it because we wanted to brighten his day. And watching him talk to the manager and the other people in the restaurant was just so uplifting. And we could tell that it meant something to him. And so now my daughter, when she goes out with her friends, takes time to make sure she's really calculating a fair and generous tip. She spends time when we go shopping to seek somebody out who's also shopping, a girl like her age, and compliments her on the things that she's wearing. She looks for ways that she can help a stage manager or a props manager or somebody on the crew and encourage them, because she knows that the show wouldn't go on without the people backstage. It's important to help our kids recognize how service impacts them and how they can also serve others. Hey there. Okay, so I've been talking about CTC math for years now, and there are very good reasons for that. First of all, they're so supportive of all the different things that homeschoolers do and need in order to be successful. And it's just a really great program. It is adaptable, and you get access to all the different grade levels at a time. There is a money-back guarantee. Like, how can you pass that up? How many curriculum companies out there give you a money-back guarantee? If the program is not working for your kids, you can reach out to them. They will help you out, try to figure out and troubleshoot what needs to be done to help your kiddos be successful. And if it's still not working, they will give you your money back. On top of that amazing guarantee, you have access to all the math grade levels from K to 12. So we're talking all the way through calculus. And so your kids can progress at the rate they need to progress at. So if your kids are super mathy and want to complete a couple grade levels in a year so they can get ahead and do some more specialized mathematics maybe in their high school years because they want to give themselves a leg up as they're getting ready for college, or if they're a little bit slower in math and they want to take some more time, they can take a year and a half to 2 years to do a grade level, whatever you need to do. Or even if you have switched programs to CTC, you can go back and just tackle the areas, the lessons where maybe there was a gap that your kids need to be updated in so that they can be more successful and move forward. You have access to all of it, so you can fully customize your kids' math experience. It's fantastic. For our family, we've got a couple kids using it right now. One of them likes to do math in a more methodical, kind of day by day, 7 days a week approach. And that particular child does one lesson a day, 7 days a week, and moves forward kind of slowly. And then if there's a lesson that they don't get, they bounce back and they do that lesson again and again until they reach mastery, and then they move on to the next lesson. And that works for that particular kid. I've got one kiddo who loves math and loves the idea of being ahead of grade level. And so that particular kid does a minimum of 2 lessons, 5 days a week, and often still does 2 lessons a day on the weekends. So we're talking 10 to 14 lessons of math a week for this particular kiddo, because this kid's goal is to whip through math as quickly as possible so they can say they were ahead of traditionally schooled kids in the school district where my husband teaches, which I just think is a crack up. I'm not the only one though. I get emails all the time from listeners just like you who have tried CTC Math because they've heard about it on the podcast or read about it in one of my newsletters, and they just wanted to let me know that it was working for them. Like this email that I got from Rachel. Hi Colleen, my son was really struggling with math until I tried out CTC. He is doing phenomenally right now after just a few months. I love the program and he loves it too. He feels confident and is all geared up and ready to go, even through the summer. I appreciate you and this resource you shared. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Well, Rachel, you keep up the great work too, because this is a testament to how adaptable and easygoing CTC is. Kids coming from different programs can jump right in and be successful and even are motivated to keep going through the summer with their math. All right, check them out if you haven't had a chance to already, ctcmath.com. If you have any questions, reach through their customer support or email me and let me know that you have a question and I'll see if I can help you get the answer to it. Let's get back to today's episode. Some of the ways that we can encourage this in our kids. Simple ways, like I just said, leaving good tips, complimenting others when you're out, seeing a need in the neighborhood, raking leaves for a neighbor, spending time with a neighbor or an elderly aunt. But also, we can find ways to serve the community. Maybe there are volunteer opportunities we could do as a family to enhance the sense of belonging that we have in our greater community. We can emphasize age-appropriate things that our kids can do. My daughter right now, so I've got 2 girls, as many of you know. One, Molly, that I just talked about, is very, very into musical theater and plans to pursue a BFA, a Bachelor of Fine Arts in musical theater when she goes on to college in a couple years. And her younger sister, Logan, likes to do theater, but isn't as into it as she is. But right now, Molly is taking a break to focus on some training. And Logan is involved in a holiday production that's coming up of Wonka, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And Logan's in the ensemble. And Molly is very good friends with the stage manager, loves her, and loves many of the actors and actresses that are involved in the production. And the stage manager reached out to her and said, I'm having trouble finding someone to run the soundboard. Can you help? And Molly had really wanted to take a break from all aspects of theater for a while, except for her training, and had already committed to doing things 2 days of the run of this show. This is a 16-show run. And so she said to her friend, the stage manager, I can do it, but there's 2 days that I can't make it. Are you able to cover that? And when Mary said that she was, Molly decided that she would absolutely learn how to be a soundboard operator. So Molly's learning a new skill in the back of the house, which is important. She's served on the stage crew before. She's done lighting, she's done some different things, and she's now learning the soundboard and the mic checks and all of that. And she's doing that. So today, Logan is at rehearsal rehearsing, and Molly is observing the rehearsal so that she knows where the sound cues are going to come in and is ready to go for Tech Week next week, and then can do the production. There's lots of different ways our kids can serve in age-appropriate ways. Molly and Logan serve as preschool teaching assistants, which is very appropriate for young teens to do and gives them service hours. And they love, love, love spending time with those young preschoolers. A high school kid can serve on stage crew if they like theater but don't want to act. They can also serve in the community. They can serve at, a food pantry. They can serve with the church. They can just reach out and help some of the neighbors that they see. All of these things can contribute to our homeschooling and our emotional development of our kids, because we can use that as credit. We can use that as volunteer hours on our kids' high school transcripts. we can also just talk about how that makes others feel when we talk to our kids so that they can see what kind of impact their service has on others. It's important for us to show our kids how, even now, when they're young, whether they are young, like my 10-year-old who helps neighbors rake leaves, or older, like the kids who are serving on stage crew in their teens, can impact their community, and how even little things make a big difference. Some practical things that we can do to find different experiences that our kids can participate in is we can ask. We can ask on community service boards. We can ask in just regular community boards. There's tons of different things on Facebook that you can, groups that you can join. I know that there's some for our general community and community surrounding us. There's county homeschooling groups on Facebook that I belong to. And I see all the time people asking, my kids are looking for service opportunities. Do you know where they can get involved at these ages? And so there are different ways that we can help our kids find opportunities to serve. You can look for local community projects. We have a tree lighting ceremony coming up, and community businesses and volunteer groups are working towards that, to serving and hot chocolate and different things during that community program. So there might be opportunities like that in your community. You can ask at local schools. My girls, like I said, are volunteering at the Fine Arts Association that they're a part of when they do theater classes and productions, and that's how they got involved in the preschool volunteer work and the soundboard volunteer work. So there's different things you can do there. You can ask at your church. You can go to a local food bank and ask about that. Finding those kinds of opportunities. There are also virtual opportunities. I've had people reach out to me, members of our Learners Lab community, who want to serve as well. And they host book clubs and other gatherings of parents just like them to talk about books that they're reading and different things like that, to do classes. You can do acts of kindness in your neighborhood. Keep a basket of candy canes and things like that in your car, like I do during the holiday season. Set up a service day with maybe a local homeschool group and open it up in the Facebook groups for homeschoolers in your county. See if there are any families in need of maybe some mother's helpers to come, so a family can get some things done around the house, or some babysitting that needs done, or some snow removal, shoveling, things like that. Be open in talking to your kids about noticing when others might need stuff done. My kids and I were just talking about elderly family members and how they can serve them. Encourage your kids to talk about the experiences they had when they volunteered or when they helped somebody out. Have them reflect on that so they can talk about what feelings that brought up and what feelings they think the others they were serving had as a result of what they did to help them or to be a part of their lives for that short period. One of the things that comes up when I talk with parents about volunteering or about serving others or about getting their kids involved in service opportunities is safety. I encourage, especially if you've got kids who are neurodivergent, I encourage parents to volunteer with their kids, because oftentimes our kids need support in getting involved with others. And so you're there with them to help them. Plus, it's good for you and it's good for them to see that you want to serve as well. You can also make sure that your kids are getting involved in organizations that you trust. My girls, like I said, are volunteering with the Fine Arts Association in our local community. And I trust the people there because I've worked with them for years. I serve on concessions for shows, I usher for different programs. And so I know the people that my kids are working with. And that's one of the ways that you can keep your kids safe. Make sure that they're working with and helping kids, people, families, organizations that you know and trust. When we encourage our kids to help others, to spread kindness to others, we are working on their emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, I've talked about this before. The social and emotional skills that they learn and recognize and can talk about with regards to their emotional intelligence are all things that serve them as they grow to become more confident and more resilient. Emotional intelligence, the idea that we know what we feel, we know others have feelings as well, and we all bring experiences to the table and come at things from different perspectives, helps our kids grow into more successful adults. There's significant research that shows that emotional intelligence is as important, if not more important, than cognitive intelligence. We want those two to work hand in hand. We want to raise smart, intelligent, curious, critical thinking kids, but we also want to raise emotionally intelligent kids who are empathetic and think critically about the impact their actions have on others, and know that serving others not only benefits those that they're serving, but themselves as well, because it builds them up, gives them opportunities to grow, and shows them where others come from and other perspectives in life. When we grow and raise socially and emotionally intelligent kids, we raise adults who are able to think critically, think in a way that serves others, be empathetic, and successfully navigate difficult situations as they grow and learn about others. I would love, love, love to know some of the ways that you have served others or helped your families serve others. Over on the show notes for this episode at raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast, you'll find a link to our contact form, which goes directly into my email. You'll also find a link to the voicemail widget where you can leave me a message. I would love it if you'd share ways that you and your kids have served others or helped others, and ways that you encourage your kids to think empathetically about family, about their extended community, and about others as well. I'll also have linked in the show notes resources like the articles and the posts that I've written about spreading random acts of kindness. There are some printables on those different pages that you can print if you want to do the simple idea of keeping candy canes or something in the car that you can pass out to others during the holiday season, as well as links to articles that others have talked about how emotional intelligence and serving others can benefit our families and our kids as a whole, and how you can incorporate that easily into your own homeschool and family life. Remember, you are raising adults who are going to serve the future generations. They are going to be raising their own kids. They are going to be going out and starting lives of their own. You want them to be as emotionally intelligent and service-oriented as possible so that they know that everybody else around them comes to the table with their own emotional and social challenges and issues. You have got this. You're an amazing parent raising amazing kids, and this holiday season is the perfect time to start focusing on those skills with your own kids. Stay in touch. I'd love to hear about what you're doing, and check out those resources linked in the show notes at raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast. And if you have time, give a special shout out and appreciation to our sponsors for this episode, CTC Math. We really, really appreciate all the support that you have given us over the years, and hope that you and yours have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. I'll talk to you soon. I'll be back same time, same place next week with another episode. In the meantime, enjoy your kids. Enjoy all the celebrations that you have coming up. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.